AEW is Bush League, and their fan base are like a cult. They're like cultists who will challenge you at any shred of criticism you may have towards the product. I used to be an AEW fan. As a matter of fact, I put more money into AEW in just the 4 years that I was consistently watching AEW. In just the 4 years that AEW was appointment television to me, I put more money into the AEW brand than I ever did in my 2.5 decades plus of watching WWE. Now, to be fair, I'm an adult these days. Obviously, I'm in my mid-30s. I'm old as hell, but I'm an adult. And during WWF, in its heyday, in the Attitude Era, and even in the early 2000s, I was a child. I was a child. I was a young teen. WWF, then become WWE. So I didn't have the disposable income that I have now. Not so disposable, but nonetheless, I didn't have an income. I was a child. I had to rely on my parents to get tickets and merch and the games and the DVDs and whatnot. But still, I'm telling you, I'm not a hater. I'm not just somebody who wants to down AEW, get some clicks, get some views, get some subscribers. I mean, actually, yeah, I would love all of those things, but but that's not why I'm doing this recording. I want to see AEW succeed, man. It's something that I've been saying now for at least the last 2 years minimum, but nothing is ever gonna change. It doesn't seem. Nothing is ever gonna change. AEW is truly just a vanity project of some billionaire who played booking simulators as a youngster, and now he's in a position where he's actually living out his fantasy, booking the cards he wants to book, pushing the wrestlers he wants to push, and you have a certain nerd fan base who are living vicariously through him because they also done the same thing. I've also done the same thing. I still play booking simulators to this day. I still play EWR. That's the oldest and most limited one there is nowadays, and I still play it for old time's sake. And it's fun as hell. I like putting my own cards together too. I like pushing who I want to push as well. But when it comes to real life, you're dealing with real people and real people's lives. And when you have a billionaire who is, you want to talk about disposable income. I mean, this guy has all the money he can ever want, so he doesn't have a sense of urgency to take care of people. And you have people rotting, just sitting around. They're getting paid, but they're not advancing in their career, And you have a guy who doesn't really know what he's doing, but thinks he does. I'm assuming he thinks he does. And, he has a bunch of yes men around him who are going to say, yeah, you know what? You want to start the pyro opening to our pay-per-view while there's some guys already wrestling in the ring? We'll just completely disregard them like a bunch of jabronis and have some pyro go off. Yeah, that's a great idea, Tony. When it's clearly not a good idea. That is objectively bad. How are you going to have a pyro go off to your pay-per-view and the opening package, the music, the pyro, and the commentators welcoming the viewer to the show while there's some jabronis in the ring already working? Like, I don't, listen, I seen the clips on Twitter. I did not watch this pay-per-view, and I'm glad I didn't. You had Amazon Prime already issuing out refunds to customers who purchased the pay-per-view and had technical difficulties trying to watch the damn show. Now, I don't know if that's an issue on AEW's end or if that was an issue on Amazon Prime's end, but given the nature of AEW's business and how it's ran, it wouldn't surprise me if it was an AEW issue. But you had that happen. This same pay-per-view, you have some jabronis in the ring working a match, and I'm guessing this is the part of the It's part of the pre-show. I forgot what AEW calls their pre-show. The 0 hour, I think is what they used to call it, right? The 0 hour. It's part of their little pre-show. And I guess the match didn't end. So they went to the pay-per-view. And this was planned. At least supposedly, allegedly. This was planned. This was exactly how it was supposed to go. It wasn't an issue of time, a botch, or anything. They're claiming this was the plan. To I guess build this feeling of anything could happen, of unpredictability, but that shit looked stupid. It didn't look unpredictable. It looks stupid. You have guys wrestling already, and then the pay-per-view starts with the pyro, the music, the commentators welcoming the viewer to the show, and there's dudes in the ring already wrestling. That is so stupid, man. It is objectively stupid. And I say that on Twitter. I say that because I said so on Twitter, and you had the AEW neckbeards, saying, "Oh, good job being a bootlicker for Triple H," and they even posted AI generated images of what they perceive me to be, some fat nerd, some fat white boy nerd licking the boot of Triple H. And it's like, bro, I don't even watch WWE either. That's the funny thing. I don't even watch WWE. I couldn't tell you the last time I sat through a full episode of Raw or SmackDown or NXT. And that just goes to show you the cult-like hive mind that is the AEW fan base. When you criticize them, they automatically get defensive and jump to this anti-WWE thing. When I'm not even... WWE is trash too. I'll be the first to say it. WWE is trash too. Nothing is interesting right now about WWE. I went to WrestleMania in Vegas this past April, earlier in the year. They're going back to Vegas, coming up. I'm not gonna go again. Hell nah. I spent a lot of money, man, on tickets and merch and drinks, and the show was kind of whack, to be honest. Like, I'm salty. My very first WrestleMania, and it's been a bucket list item for me to go to a WrestleMania. And with my luck, the first WrestleMania I ever go to is like, it ends up being one of the most controversial WrestleManias of all time. So that's my luck. That's the story of my life. But WWE is trash too. I don't give a fuck about WWE. I am objectively telling you nerds that AEW is a bush league. It's trash. The guy doesn't know what he's doing. It's a vanity project. It's a billionaire playing a booking simulator in real life. That's all it is. And if you enjoy that, good for you. Good for you. I don't enjoy that. And the vast majority of not just regular wrestling fans, but even former AEW fans, the core of AEW fans who were there in the beginning, a lot of us don't like this shit. We're turned off by it. Because AEW had so much potential to be a true challenger brand to WWE, a true alternative, a true place where new stars could be built, a new foundation could be built, a new concept of professional wrestling could be established. Instead, we're getting this nonsense that you see on TV every week, man. Nonsense. Lack of storytelling, lack of character development. And the few stories and characters that you get are fucking whack. Jon Moxley, he's a ratings killer. He's trash. He was good as Dean Ambrose. He was good in his first couple of years in AEW. He's been trash ever since, man. Nothing is interesting about the guy. His mystique is gone. That's an understatement. His mystique is in the Shadow Realm and has been there for years now. The only good thing AEW has going for them at this point is, I want to say, Darby Allin. That's literally the only good thing they have is Darby Allin. Talent-wise, gimmick-wise, character-wise. Not talent-wise. AEW has a lot of great, talented performers on their roster. AEW has assembled one of the most talented, most stacked rosters of all time. But in the hands of people who don't know what the hell they're doing, a talented, stacked roster is worthless. It means nothing when the pen is in the hands of a man who don't know what he's doing. And clearly, he refuses to allow anyone else to help him, to book the show for him, to take over. AEW would fare so much better if Tony Khan could just be happy being the guy who funded it all and pass the pen over to an actual booker who knows what he's doing, who has experience, and a booking committee, agents and people, writers that actually, are talented and know how to put some stories together with continuity and compelling story-driven television. But instead, Tony Khan wants to wear all these hats. He wants to be the star. He wants to be the guy, the kid that he was booking on booking simulators. And that's what's happening. And I just had to get this out because when I seen that clip of Wrestle Dream or whatever opening up like that with two guys already wrestling, then I got a story in my feed this morning, I believe, this morning or yesterday morning, about Amazon Prime having to issue refunds to customers who experienced some technical difficulties while trying to watch AEW Wrestle Dream. It's unacceptable, man. And you want to talk about unacceptable. Andrade, El Ídolo, as he's known in AEW, he was recently fired from WWE. Released, fired, let go, terminated, axed, however you want to put it. But he was fired from WWE. It was under the assumption that because he was fired, he didn't have a 90-day non-compete clause that most released talents are strapped with. For some reason, I don't know how this was the idea here, the belief, but AEW, they thought they were going to one up on WWE. They thought they were going to get people talking, and hindsight's 2020. They did get people talking, but not in the way that they thought, because Andrade gets fired by WWE and AEW puts him on Dynamite. Within weeks of his WWE termination, they have him come out in a surprise appearance, attacking Kenny Omega, their number one star, their number one talent. I said one of the few good things left in AEW earlier was Darby Allin. I take that back. Darby Allin and MJF, and to a lesser extent, Kenny Omega, are the only good things left that AEW has. And they had a recently fired Andrade sneak attack, ambush Kenny Omega in a big surprise return to the company. And then suddenly Andrade was off of AEW TV unceremoniously for the following several weeks later. And all the way up to now, we finally know, as of a couple of weeks ago now, we finally find out that Andrade did, in fact, have a 90-day no-compete clause. How did AEW and their legal team not, have some serious talks with Andrade and his agent and the situation with him and his contract with WWE, blah, blah, blah? How did they not iron out all these kinks before putting Andrade on their flagship show and assaulting their flagship star, Kenny Omega, only for him to go missing, MIA, for the next several weeks because they realized they are essentially contract tampering? Something that Tony Khan has, admonished, has criticized WWE for doing, alleging that they have tampered with contracts in the past for AEW. Well, they literally just did that unknowingly, inadvertently, because they're so damn incompetent. They didn't stop to actually try to vet Andrade and his legal team and make sure that he is truly available. No, they rushed his ass out there to try to pop a rating, try to get the crowd to pop, try to pop themselves. Tony Khan was already jerking off, planning to book Andrade and Kenny Omega for the pay-per-view, and it blows up in his face. Splat. Because they are so damn incompetent. I'm going to say this right now. I'll get back to AEW in a second, but I want to talk about Andrade and his situation with WWE, because now I'm hearing that because Andrade showed up on AEW TV, now WWE has the legal right to actually put a 365-day non-compete on Andrade now if they so please. Yes, Andrade could be out of action for an entire year now, because of AEW's incompetence, and quite frankly, the man is very obviously not innocent. Andrade's incompetence as well. Because how do I mean, how? How? This story, when it came out, I was just like, man, it's official. We're living in a simulation, bro. Like, this shit is just way too stupid to be real. Like, we're in a simulation. There's no way. We're in a simulation, and we're entertaining the programmer here with this stupid shit. This is crazy. I don't know how something like this happens in the year 2025. It's just crazy. I could get it back in the 90s and 80s and 90s when handshake deals still existed back in those days. Where your word was your bond type of thing, and you seen guys like fucking what was his name? You seen like Lex Luger show up on WCW Nitro, even though he was just on Raw not too long ago. And same thing for that other guy. I'm forgetting his name. He was like an enforcer in DX, I want to say, or something. What was his name? That one guy. But anyway, the point is, I could see something like this happening back in the 80s and 90s when handshake deals were still a thing, verbal agreements were still a thing. But today in 2025, something like this happening just doesn't feel real. It is crazy. I don't think WWE could keep Andrade out of work for a whole year. I don't see how a decision like this would hold up in the court of law. It's not like, Andrade, he's Mexican, man. He's Mexican. I know he could get a job doing anything, bro. You know what I mean? We're a jack of all trades. We're the type of people, we could work, we could be mechanics, we could be construction workers, we could be anything, cook some bomb ass food. Andrade could get a job anywhere, but the point is, his trade of choice is professional wrestling, and you cannot prevent a man from working his trade, not for a whole year without pay. That's crazy. So now the speculation is that Andrade is going to come back to WWE or possibly AAA. They'll send him to Mexico to work AAA or events down there. It remains to be seen. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes peeled on this story though, because I am an Andrade fan, and it's just crazy to see what's happening. This is crazy. I haven't seen something like this before. At least if they go through and try to take it to court, because WWE is going to try to get him off of work, off of TV for a whole year. That's crazy, man. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. Not in recent memory. I'm just going to end with this though, as far as the Andrade thing. It doesn't matter, because no wrestling company in America knows how to book Mexican wrestlers. They only know how to book Mexican wrestlers if they wear a mask or they're portrayed as liars, cheaters, thieves, or thugs. That's the only way they know how to book Mexican wrestlers. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's my opinion. I'm going to leave it at that. Back to AEW though and their nonsense. Yeah, man, I really don't have much else to say about AEW. It's just, it's a shell of what it used to be. People say AEW is like a shell of what it used to be. I say AEW is not even a shell, bro. It's ashes. It's the ashes of what it used to be. It's dead. It's long been dead. The state of AEW is just so sad to me, man. It's funny, like, when I look back at 2021 AEW, bro, 2021 AEW, I look back at 2021 AEW the same way people look back at the Attitude Era now. Like, it's just, I'm nostalgic about it, bro. I'm nostalgic about old school AEW. AEW from 2019 to 2022 was an exciting time in pro wrestling, man. It was exciting, it was exhilarating, it was thrilling, it was enthralling. You truly felt like anything could happen. When they had Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, CM Punk all show up within weeks of each other. Obviously Cole and Daniel, Brian Danielson, they showed up in the same night, just like a couple of weeks removed from CM Punk showing up at that fateful AEW Rampage. Almost forgot the name of the damn show. The First Dance Rampage episode. I mean, how do you fumble that, man? How do you fumble that? This man, Tony Khan, had CM Punk, Adam Cole, and Daniel Bryan all on the same show at the same time, dog. Like, how do you fumble that? That has to go down in history of sports, of television, of film, of cinema, etc. It has to go down as the biggest fumble of all time, bro. Of all time. Like, seriously, it's like, Dan Marino, Ace Ventura, the laces were in, whatever. Like, this is the biggest fumble of all time, dude. It's just crazy. I don't know how you fuck that up. Not to mention, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, not to mention Kenny Omega, MJF, whatever, Andrade, Malachi Black. Like, how do you fumble that, man? Like, AEW was so special in the beginning. It had an aura of unpredictability. It felt like Attitude Era. It felt like it was just special. I can't even describe it, man. It was special. And I truly look back at old school AEW, specifically 2021 AEW. I look back at it the way I look back at the Monday Night Wars, the way I look back at the Ruthless Aggression era. Like, it was you just had to be there. It's one of those things. Like, that's what we're going to be saying now. Like, 20 years from now, we're going to be, showing memes of AEW in 2021 with, Daniel Bryan and Kenny Omega at Grand Slam. And we're going to be putting, you just had to be there. Like, it was such a special time. So again, I'm not an AEW hater or anything like that, man. I'm a jaded fan. Just as I was a jaded WWE fan back in 2019 when AEW was just formed, and I hope AEW could get back to its glory days, but it's never gonna happen. I see that now. It's never gonna happen. Be so long as Tony Khan, just acts like a little kid and wants to have fun and play real life booking simulator. That's all he's doing. Instead of actually running an actual scalable, profitable business and hire the right people to start building new stars and pump out, enthralling television and week to week character building and all kind of different things like that make a successful business. It's never gonna change because Tony Khan is living out a fantasy in real life. Old school AEW, it's so clear to me that it was not booked by Tony Khan. Old school AEW was not booked by Tony Khan. Yeah, he funded it, and I'm sure he had the final say in things, and I'm sure he had some input, absolutely. But he was not the one booking 2021 AEW, 2020, 2019 AEW. Hell nah. And it's very clear to me that the moment Cody and Brandy left AEW, Tony Khan basically asserted himself and took complete control, because you cannot convince me that he was always booking the shows, because today's AEW is not even recognizable from, or I should say post Cody and Brandy AEW. Like, it's not even the same product, bro. It's so different. Like, you cannot convince me that Tony Khan was always the number one booker of the show, always the showrunner. You couldn't convince me. It is so clearly a different product today. But I just want to get that out, man. I hope things could change for AEW, but it's very obviously not gonna happen.